Hello everyone, welcome to IAS Baba's 60 Days Rapid Revision Series for Prelims 2022. This is day 47 and we take up science and tech topics. So most of the topics in the current affairs regarding chemistry and biology we take up here. So before going to the topics, we have the guesswork first. So consider the following statement. The governor of the Reserve Bank of India is appointed by the central government. Then certain provisions in the Constitution of India give the central government the right to issue directions to the RBI in the public interest. And the governor of RBI draws his power from the RBI Act. Friends, here we know that throughout the constitution there is no word RBI at all. So RBI is a statutory body, not at all a constitutional body. So strike 2 and you will get the 1 and 3 as the answer. So 0.5 second exercise. Then with reference to the casual workers employed in India, consider the following statements. So here all casual workers are entitled for the employees provident fund coverage. Then all casual workers are entitled for the regular working hours and the overtime payment. Then the government can by a notification specify that an establishment or industry shall pay wages only through its bank account. Now, friends, now if you go with the crude guesswork, that is, I will eliminate all those extreme words. So here we have all, and here we have only. So none of the above will be your answer. But that is not the actual guesswork. So time and again, I will remind you that as and when the UPSC evolves its question paper trend, you should also evolve your guessing strategies. Updation of guessing strategies is a must. So here is like we should go for the ethical judgment. So whenever there is a government scheme related question and if it is ethically correct and if it is doing welfare for the people, so that statement will be correct. Say for example here, all casual workers are entitled for the employees provident fund. So it is a welfare statement. So even if a person is earning 10 rupees, so he should be entitled for keeping 1 rupee as a provident fund because that is for his future. So we will take this as correct. And then all casual workers are entitled for the regular working hours and overtime payment. Say for example, just because I am hiring a casual worker, I cannot make him work overtime and pay only the salary which I am giving earlier. So I have to give him extra payment. So that is humanity. So again, the statement 2 is also ethically correct. Then the government can by notification specify that an establishment or industry shall pay wages only through bank account. So here digitalization of banking system. So it is one of the welfare schemes and that helps the government to track the movement of finances and also that would be helpful for the laborers as well. So here again, the statement also says that by notification. So by notifying them earlier, I can make sure that banking system will be installed in the payment of wages as well. So all the 3 are ethically correct. I will go with 1, 2 and 3 as the answer. So here pose yourself whether it is ethically correct or not. So I call this as the ethical judgment. So whenever you deal with the government schemes related questions, so go for this ethical judgment. Then come to next, which one of the following is most likely to be taken at the time of economic recession? So here again, it is a basic conceptual thing. So even if you have read a notes of the foundation course or if you have taken any foundation course, so this you can answer. So here cutting in the tax rates accompanied by increase in the interest rates. So here cutting tax, so that will infuse money into the economy, but increasing interest, it will suck out the money from the economy. So both plus and minus are hidden here. And then increasing the expenditure on public projects. So this will only infuse and this can cause inflation only. Then increasing tax rates accompanied by the reduction in interest rates. So here it became minus and plus and here reduction of the expenditure on public projects. So here only minus. So here we opt only for the exclusive plus one. So exclusively positive, here there are no negativities. That is why answer B will be the more formidable option. Then come to next, consider the following statements. So other things remaining unchanged, market demand for a good might increase if the price of substitute increases, then price of its complement increases, then the good is an inferior good and the income of consumers increases and its prices fall. So again, the conceptual question. So better make sure that you have a proper reason behind judging whether the statement is correct or not. Say for example, the price of substitute increases. Say take the coffee and tea as the substitutes. So if the price of coffee increases and now the people will shift towards tea. So here it is like the market demand of a good increased if the price of the substitute increases because people will leave that and they start opting more and more for this good. And then price of its complement increases. So here if consider the pen and a refill. So if the price of refill increases, the price of the pen will also increase, and now the demand for this pen will actually decrease. It will not increase. So cut this statement and now check for 1 should be there and 2 should not be there. So 1 should be there and 2 should not be there. Here we have 1 and 4 only and 1, 3 and 4 only. So luck didn't favor. We have to read third statement. Good is an inferior good and the income of the consumers increases. So here, if you are consuming normal bread, so that is an inferior good, and now your income increased, and now your demand for a normal bread decreased, and your demand for a multigrain bread increases. So here it is like this is not an option. So 1 and 4 only, that will be the formidable option. So but obvious, if the price of a good falls, the demand increases. Then come to next. With reference to urban cooperative banks in India, consider the following statements. So they are supervised and regulated by the local boards set up by the state governments. So here what is this local boards? We don't know. We will keep that statement and move on. And they can issue equity shares and preference shares. So for example, go with the practical approach, friends. If one bank, that is the cooperative bank, which is mostly dependent on the government for its fund, and now this bank says that no, I am not dependent on you. I will invest my shares. I will pledge my shares and then I will earn my capital on my own. And the government says, yes, go ahead with that. Even it is profitable for me as well. So practical ground reality prompts that if a bank is going forward to issue shares, so government will support that. It will not forbid at any case. So 2 should always be correct. And here check for the option where the 2 is there. So we have B and D. So now again the question box down to 50-50 chance. And all your 50-50 goes with the statement 1. And this statement 1 goes with this word, the local boards. And here my suggestion is that this local boards, so it is a generic term. So we will go and hit 1, 2 and 3 as the answer, because we have discussed that if there is one statement which is moderate and which we don't know, we will consider it as the correct one. We should not consider it as a wrong statement. So we are respecting our ignorance here, and we will go with all of the above as the answer. And again, when UPSC releases its answer key, then we will confirm whether these local boards, as per the UPSC examiner's language, whether it is a generic term which amounts to be correct or whether it is an ambiguous term which amounts to be wrong. So that we will see only when we get the UPSC official answer key. So considering the human capability, this is what we can do for this question, and then we move on. Now coming to the topics, Nobel Prize in Chemistry for 2021. The 2021 Nobel Prize in Chemistry was awarded for the development of asymmetric organocatalysis. So what is this asymmetric organocatalysis? It is that the new catalysts derived from naturally occurring chemicals were greener and cheaper and ensured that the end product of the chemical reaction was of a specific variety, and it did not need to go through a purification process to yield the desired type of compound. So friends, here the basic meaning is like, so no catalysts are asymmetric in nature. Most of them are symmetric. That means if they are speeding the reaction, if they are hastening the reaction process, so in the end they are producing more and more impurities as well. So here it is like the faster the catalysis process happens, more the impurities will be obtained in the end product. But here asymmetric means, so they are not only hastening the reaction but also reducing the impurities. So this is somewhat asymmetry, this is somewhat skewed, whatever we got in the trends of natural chemistry. So that is why it is called asymmetric organocatalysis. That is not only speeding the reaction but also reducing the impurities. So we get the faster reaction with less impurities. Then how does it work? Organocatalysts, they bind to reacting molecules to form a short-lived intermediaries, and these are more reactive than the substrate molecules on their own. So now these catalysts, they will bind and form intermediaries, and once the reaction is over, so they will split and they will go back to their original state. So due to this going back to the original state, then there are no impurities that are obtained. So this is how organocatalysis occurs. Then come to next, the persistent organic pollutants. The Union Cabinet has approved the ratification of 7 chemicals listed under the Stockholm Convention on the persistent organic pollutants. So what are those? That is the chlordicon, and then hexabromodiphenyl ether, and then heptabromodiphenyl ether, and then tetrabromodiphenyl ether, and then pentabromodiphenyl ether, then pentachlorobenzene, then hexabromocyclododecane, and then hexachlorobutadiene. So friends, make sure that crudely what is the chemical formula of it. So try marking them. If you have a simple basic of organic chemistry, so you can write the chemical formula of these. You need not write the structural formula as such. So at least that thing if you do, you can predict the properties of this compound. You can predict the uses of this compound. And UPSC asks only the uses and the properties of any chemical compound. So maximum possibility of a chemistry question appearing in UPSC is it is like either the property of a gas or a substance or a chemical or the benefits or applications of it. So just do it as an assignment. It would be very helpful for you. Then the ratification process would enable India to access the global environmental facilities, financial resources, and these resources will help in updating the national implementation plan. So here it means the national implementation plan is being set up by the UNEP, and every nation they have their own plans under this. So just like we have the INDCs in the Paris summit, the same way the national implementation plan goes for the persistent organic pollutants, and the government can make use of the GEF's fund for the furthering of their targets in the NIP. So that is what the advantage we get when India ratified the Stockholm Convention for all these chemicals. Then more with the Stockholm Convention, the persistent organic pollutants are the chemical substances that persist in environment and bioaccumulate in living organisms and have the property of the long range environmental transport. So they can be transported for a longer distance. Then exposure to POPs can lead to cancer, damage to nervous system, then diseases for immune system, then reproductive disorders and other. So but obvious chemicals are always harmful for the human body and environment. Then India had ratified the Stockholm Convention in 2006. So mark this as important. And then the Ministry of Environment had notified the regulation of the persistent organic pollutants rules in 2018 under the provisions of Environment Protection Act 1986. So mark the rules and the act as important. So these are some of the facts regarding the POPs. Then the types of plastics. Friends, this year we had got a question on bisphenol. So here we revise the different types of plastics. So first is the polyethylene. So this is nothing but a chain of ethylene molecules. So here we have the low density polyethylene, then high density polyethylene and polyethylene terephthalate. So we all know that the polyethylene terephthalate, that is the PET bottles. So whatever plastic we use for the Bisleri bottles, then Pepsi bottles, etc., they are the polyethylene terephthalate. Then the polypropylene, so it is a thermoplastic polymer, which means it becomes moldable when heated to certain temperatures. So we have two kinds of plastics we have read in NCERTs. One is the thermoplastic and the thermosetting plastics. So thermoplastics, they will melt on heating, and thermosetting plastics will not melt. So they are heat resistant. Then the polyvinyl chloride. So these PVC pipes we have seen, and here we have two types. That is the rigid polyvinyl chloride and the flexible polyvinyl chloride. We have also seen the flexible PVC pipes and the rigid PVC pipes. The acrylonitrile butadiene styrene. So this plastic is also used in some musical instruments and used to prepare inhalers, and then the automotive bumper bars and the heads of the golf clubs. So here this is used for making up various precision oriented instruments like the musical instruments and sports articles, etc. So remember this acrylonitrile butadiene styrene. And then we have the nylon. So nylon, friends, it is nothing but an artificial fiber, and this nylon 6, they possess very high tensile strength and are also lustrous and elastic to some extent. So whenever we see the bungee jumps, whichever the tourists do, so they are being tied up with these nylon threads because they have a very high tensile strength. Then nylon 66, a different variety, and these are used in making airbags, then carpet fibers, and then in automobiles, and then for making bar bearing cages, then pipes and zip ties, etc. So these nylon 66, they are most commonly used compared to this nylon 6. Then polytetrafluoroethylene. So it is the Teflon. This is used in preparing your non-stick tawas, that is the non-stick pans which we use for cooking. Then the phenol formaldehyde resins. So they are also used as adhesives and coatings. So the gums and coatings, so they are being formed by here. Then we have the silicone. They are resistant to ozone, then ultraviolet radiations and oxygen. So this silicone, it can be highly insulated from the natural and chemical reactions, and hence it is used in those environments where the natural and chemical reactions are common. So these are some of the kinds of plastics. Then come to next, the RNA interference. technology, that is the RNAI technology. So friends, once it was asked in exam and it is also present in NCERTs. So that's why I brought it here, and it is also in news because this RNA interference is being used to suppress various genes and also to cure some genetic disorders. So how this actually works? Friends, with the help of DNA helicase, we are going to break this double-stranded thread. And now this double-stranded thread becomes two single-stranded threads. And now this RNA is a single-stranded thread, we know that. And this RNA with some enzymes, so if that is added, so that will come and that gets attached to this single-stranded thread which is open. So it is like we are fixing a plug so that that part of gene will not work at all. Say for example, here we have a gene and this gene is working. So now what we do is that we split this, and when we split, we will bring the RNA interface and then we will plug it here, and this part of gene will become silenced. So basically the RNA interference technology is used for gene silencing. So mark that as very much important. So RNAI means gene silence. Then come to next, the solid state lithium metal battery. Friends, lithium ion batteries, so they are the advanced technology after the nickel cadmium batteries, but here we have a difference. Like whatever lithium ion batteries we used, so they have the liquid electrolyte, but we have a new one that is having solid electrolyte. So solid state batteries are the lithium ion batteries made up of the solid electrolytes. Simple one. Then solid state batteries are an emerging option for the next generation traction batteries, and they promise low cost and high performance and also high safety. So remember the advantages of these solid state batteries, that is the low cost, high performance and high safety. Then the benefits of the solid state lithium metal batteries, it is stable at high temperatures which enables safer operation and better performance. Friends, liquid electrolyte used to burn, but the solid electrolyte will be stable at high temperatures. Then the SSBs promised that electric vehicles and mobile phones will no longer be at risks from batteries that catch fire. So catching fire will not be an option anymore. Then its stability and barrier properties. Friends, the electrolyte made up of solid will be having more barriers so that it will not leave the electrons to go and merge between the cathodes and anodes. So that means more performance it will give. And then the solid state batteries can increase energy density per unit area since only small number of batteries are needed. So here the size of the batteries will also be less. So we know that the solid electrolyte, so that can carry more ions. So if that happens, we can reduce the size of the battery significantly, and this will help in manufacturing the electronic gadgets where small batteries are required. So these are some of the advantages. So it is like high temperatures, then high performance, and also like the size of the batteries are reduced. Then come to next, the ambergris. So what is this? Ambergris. So this is a French name for the grey amber. So it is generally referred to as the whale's vomit. So the whale is vomiting here, and the ambergris is formed from a secretion of the bile duct in the intestines of the sperm whale and can be found floating on the sea or washed up on the coastlines. So from the bile duct of these sperm whales, this ambergris will come and that will be found floating on the coastal areas. And it is a solid waxy substance that floats around the surface of water body and at times settles on the coast. And this excretion is so valuable and it is referred to as the floating gold. And the reason for its high cost is its use in the perfume market, especially to create the fragrances like the musk of the musk deer. And it is believed to be in high demand in the countries like Dubai that have a large perfume market. And ancient Egyptians, they used it as the incense sticks, that is the agarbattis. And it is also believed to be used in some traditional medicines, so it is having some medicinal value as well. Then ambergris is produced only by an estimated 1% of sperm whales. So whatever is being produced is very less, hence it is very precious. And here we can take a look of ambergris. So it has been solidified already. And remember its economic significance. Then the nano urea liquid. So this is a nutrient liquid to provide nitrogen to plants as an alternative to the conventional urea. Friends, we know that conventional urea, so that comes in the shape of granules, and now we are adding liquid instead of giving granules, and it is developed to replace the conventional urea, and it can curtail the requirement of the same by at least 50%, and it contains some 40,000 milligrams per liter of nitrogen in 500 ml bottle, which is equivalent to the impact of nitrogen nutrient provided by the one bag of conventional urea. So here it is what the one bag of urea would provide, the same 500 ml would provide. So again it is very much advantageous. Then conventional urea is effective 30 to 40% in delivering the nitrogen to the plants, while the effectiveness of nano urea liquid is 80%. So again, the efficiency is more, and it has been indigenously developed at the Nano Biotechnology Research Center at Kalol in Gujarat in line with Atmanirbhar Bharat. So it is indigenously made and it is 80% efficient compared to 40% of the normal urea, and 500 ml of this can be substituted to 1 bag of conventional urea. So remember these points. Then come to next, the India's maiden project for blending of hydrogen. So Gas Authority of India Limited, that is the GAIL, has commenced India's first of its kind project of mixing hydrogen into natural gas system at Indore in Madhya Pradesh. So here mixing of the hydrogen with natural gas is called the hydrogen blending. So just like the ethanol blending, here we have hydrogen blending. And this project is to establish the techno-commercial feasibility of blending hydrogen in the natural gas network. And this grey hydrogen would subsequently be replaced by the green hydrogen. So now whatever hydrogen we are blending is the grey hydrogen, and later we are going up with the green hydrogen. So now what is green and grey hydrogens? So firstly the green hydrogen. Here the hydrogen that is obtained by splitting water by the electrolysis using electricity from renewable energy. So that is absolutely green. So even the water is green and the energy we used is also from a renewable source. And then we have the blue hydrogen. So this is produced from natural gas with the process of steam methane reforming, where the natural gas is mixed with very hot steam and a catalyst. So once the natural gas is mixed with the hot steam and catalyst, so here this CH4 methane gets separated to the hydrogen and the carbon dioxide. And then the grey hydrogen. So it is also made from natural gas, just like the blue hydrogen, but without any efforts to capture the carbon dioxide byproducts. So here in the blue hydrogen, the carbon dioxide is captured, but in grey hydrogen, the carbon dioxide is not captured and it is left to the atmosphere. Then come to next, the Lakadong Turmeric. Friends, the West Jaintia Hills Meghalaya witnessed the first of its kind fly-off event to demonstrate the use of drone technology for payload delivery. And this could solve the connectivity issues for Lakadong turmeric farmers. So during the plantation and during the cultivation of turmeric, these people they had to travel a lot, and these drones they have cut off this traveling and the connectivity efforts. And more about Lakadong turmeric. So this turmeric has been identified under the One District One Program initiative as a product with excellent potential for growth and export for the West Jaintia Hills. So under this One District One Product program for West Jaintia Hills district, the Lakadong turmeric is being chosen, and it is one of the world's finest turmeric varieties with the highest curcumin content of 7 to 9%. So friends, what is this curcumin? It is nothing but the yellowish powder, whatever we have. So more the curcumin content, more yellowish the turmeric would look. Then Meghalaya has applied for a geographical indication tag for this Lakadong turmeric, and then India produces 78% of the world's turmeric. So remember this fact. Then come to next, the One District One Product scheme. So the scheme comes under the Department of Promotion of Industry and International Trade, that is the DPIIT, and the Ministry of Commerce and Industry. It is going to implement that, and it is aimed at promoting a competitive and stable product from a specific area to push sales and improve the standard of living. And it is basically a Japanese business development concept. So we have taken a cue from Japan and we have implementing this One District One Product scheme. And in India, Uttar Pradesh was the first state to launch the concept in 2018, and now we have emulating it throughout the nation. Then come to next, the dark genome and the Borg DNA. So dark genome first. Human genome is conventionally divided into the coding genome, which generates more than 20,000 annotated human protein coding genes. And then we have dark genome, which does not encode to any proteins. So we have coding genome and the non-coding genome. This non-coding genome is called the dark genome. Then dark genome is a vast space accounting for 98.5% of genomic space, and it contains repeated elements, then enhancers, then regulatory sequences and non-coding RNAs. So these are present in these non-coding genomes. Then the scientists say that these new proteins can be used as biological indicators to distinguish between the two conditions, that is schizophrenia and the bipolar disorder. Friends, there is a small difference between schizophrenia and the split personality disorders. So many times we confuse that schizophrenia is nothing but split personality. That is not the case. So here scientists say that So some dark genomes are responsible for schizophrenia, and some other dark genomes, they are responsible for the bipolar disorder. And it can also be used to identify patients more prone to psychosis or suicide. So whenever a person is mentally weak, so by identifying their dark genomes, we can get to know whether they are weak or not. So this is a brief description on the dark genome. Then this Borg's DNA. These are extra chromosomal elements, meaning that these DNA sequences are found outside the chromosomes. And example of extra chromosomal elements include the plasmids, which can replicate outside the host's chromosomes, and some viruses. So friends, they are present inside the nucleus, but they are not the part of chromosomes. So these are called the Borg DNA. Then they share genes that oxidize methane, and they are called methanotropes. So methanotropes can be used to reduce atmospheric emission of methane. So this is very much important for the environment and ecology to curb the greenhouse gas and to curb the global warming. So that is why these Borg DNAs are coming in news, and hence it becomes important. Then the Trioelectric Nanogenerators, or the TENG. So a TENG is a self-powered device, and it makes use of the mechanical energy in the form of vibrations, which is present everywhere in different forms to generate electricity. So the mechanical energies and the vibrations that is being used, and the electricity is generated. And how it works? It works on the principle of creation of electrostatic charges via instantaneous physical contact of two dissimilar materials. And it is followed by generation of a potential difference when a mismatch is introduced between the two contacted surfaces through a mechanical force. And this mechanism drives the electrons to move back and forth between the conducting films coated on the back of the tribo layers. So friends, here we don't understand anything, so we will take an example. Here we have some LEDs. So 10 LEDs we take, and all these LEDs, so they will be connected to one thin film. So here we have a very thin film of metal and say aluminum or silver film. And now if I clap here, so it will create some vibrations, and these vibrations, they will move the electrons on this film to and fro. And when the electrons move to and fro here, they will also move to and fro in these wires, and that is more than sufficient to send the electricity and for the LEDs to glow. And the scientists doing experiment, they found that by clapping against this silver foil, they have lit 11 LEDs, which is really a breakthrough. Then come to next, the positron excess. So friends, we know that electron and positron. So positron is nothing but an antimatter of electron. So here the mass is same, only the charge is different. Say we have the electron here, and the same way positron is also there, but this is positive, this is negative. And now coming to this positron excess. So here over the years, scientists have observed excess of positron having the energy of more than 10 giga electron volts, but positron having an energy more than 300 giga electron volts are lower in comparison to the astronomers' expectation. So there are too much of positrons having 10 giga electron volts, but not so much which have 300 giga electron volt. So this behavior of positron between 10 and 300 is called the positron excess. So why only 10 giga electron volt positrons are higher in number? So that concept itself is called the positron excess. And the reason for this positron excess, it is like the Milky Way consists of the giant clouds of molecular hydrogen, and the cosmic rays are produced in supernova explosions. So friends, whenever a star burns out inside the Milky Way, so it causes the cosmic rays or the supernova explosions. And the cosmic rays interacts with the molecular hydrogen and can give rise to other cosmic rays, primarily the electrons and positrons. So when these cosmic rays coming from supernova, when they interact with the molecular hydrogen, they give out more number of positrons. And these positrons, they are of 10 giga electron volt capacity. Then the researchers from the Raman Research Institute found out that the cosmic rays interaction with the giant clouds is a viable contributor to the origin of positron excess phenomenon. So if this was not there, even the positron excess would not have been there. So this is all about the positron excess. Then the blue stragglers and the magnetars. So firstly, the blue stragglers. Recently, Indian researchers found that half of blue stragglers in the space are formed through the mass transfer from a close binary companion star. So these blue stragglers, they obtain only from the merging or collision of two binary stars. So mark this as important. And then 1/3 of these blue stragglers are formed through collisions of two stars, and the remaining 2/3 are formed through normal interactions. So here 1/3 by collision and 2/3 by interactions. Then this was the first ever comprehensive analysis of a blue straggler. And blue stragglers are a class of stars on open or globular clusters that stand out as they are bigger and bluer than the rest of the stars. So, what are these blue stragglers? They are the bigger and bluer stars, and they are formed by the merging of two binary stars. So, that is more than sufficient here. Then, the magnetars. So, when massive stars like supergiant stars with a total mass between 10 to 25 solar masses, that is 10 to 25 times massive than the sun, if they collapse, they might form neutron stars. And among these neutron stars stands out a small group with most intense magnetic fields. And those neutron stars which have very high magnetic field, they are called magnetars. Then magnetars experience violent eruptions or intense bursts in the form of transient X-ray pulses which are several times higher than that of sun. And when inactive, magnetars can be thousands of times more luminous than the sun. So that means these magnetars, they will emit more X-ray pulses and they are more luminous. So that is more than sufficient. Then, so far only 30 magnetars located within the Milky Way have been discovered. So not so important a fact. So here what is a magnetar? So it is a neutron star having much higher magnetic field, and these have a very strong pulsation of X-rays, and also they are highly luminous compared to sun. Then the monoclonal antibody therapy. So India is facing a shortage of two monoclonal antibody therapies, that is itolizumab and tocilizumab. So these are the two antibodies which India is facing shortage of. Then the monoclonal antibodies are artificially created antibodies which aim to aid the body's natural immune system. So friends, these monoclonal antibodies, so here it is like one antibody we will produce, and then after that we will do cloning. And the antibodies obtained after cloning, so they are called the monoclonal antibodies. So say for example, we take the spike protein of coronavirus, and then we will prepare an antibody for that, and we will clone this antibody. And once we clone this antibody, so this is itself the monoclonal antibody therapy. So that is, we will inject these antibodies into the human body, and that itself becomes a way of treatment. So this is a brief description of the monoclonal antibodies. And here we have the itolizumab and tocilizumab as the two types of antibody therapies. Then come to next, the global sodium benchmarks for different food categories. That is, the World Health Organization has established global benchmarks for the sodium levels in the foods across different food categories. So that means to reduce the sodium intake, the WHO is coming up with the various benchmarks. So this food should contain these many micrograms of sodium, that's it. And this was established as a part of WHO's efforts in reducing the sodium intakes in populations. And global sodium benchmarks are intended to be useful for countries in setting national policies and strategies, and for ongoing dialogue between the WHO and private sector at global level. So anyhow, we are aiming towards more and more policies towards reducing the intake of global sodium. So this benchmark is very helpful for that. So that if you remember, it is more than sufficient. Then coming to the last part, friends always believe in the concept of selfless service. So whether you are studying for UPSC or whether you are doing a charity, whether you are helping someone, so do it without any expectations. So let the God evaluate your service and let him give the reward. So we are not the one who are able to judge it. So we will make sure that whoever is present around us, we will help them, serve them, and even if we become the civil servants, we will do the same. So immaterial of our results, so we will stand for the social service and we will stand for the welfare of the public. So all the very best. Good luck, friends.